I want to call the meeting to order of the Board of the Port of Oswego Authority. And as usual, we will begin with introductions, starting with you, Ken.
Ken Stevens, member.
Fran Enright, member.
Connie Casamento, new member.
Tom Schneider, member.
John Carroll Smith, member.
Jerry Brown, member.
Bill Scriber, report.
Amy Tressetter. Tonight, we are happy to say we have two new board members. Connie Casamento, I think everyone here already knows Connie. And our other board member is on his way. He had to go out of town and he will be here probably soon. Motion 0708-1901 to approve the minutes. Could I have a motion for that, please?
So moved.
Second.
Please take a look at the minutes. If you have any changes, edits, etc. No? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is our administrative operational report, which is Exhibit B, and I'll turn that over to Bill.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chairman. We successfully loaded our first saltwater grain ship on the east side to the knowledge of the port ever. A little over 19,192 metric ton. And that's kind of noteworthy because we have never done that much of a load in that time. We actually, if we wanted to deduct out the 5 hours of rain delay we had, and the issues with the fumigation, and because it's going overseas to Egypt, they had to put tubing in it to aerate and fumigate. We would have been way under the time allotted. So Purdue was very happy. I got a nice email from them. I had a follow-up conference call with them last week. They're happy. The bad news is it looks like we're way behind in Central New York on soybeans. So it doesn't look like this is going to be a banner year for soybeans like last year was, which gave us this ship. Now we've loaded 2 ships. We probably will load another one this fall. I don't expect a huge increase in soybeans because of the weather. That's what we're predicting. As far as aluminum, as you know,
That's but on the, so it's really the first one that's coming from the saltwater through the seaway to here. And what they do fumigation, they do some ballast change when they come out, because I know
well,
there's
they have
that
to
whole
be
invasive species thing.
Yeah, well, yeah. The whole bailing ballast water issue they deal with as they get to the
Yeah.
St. Lawrence on the way out. As far as we're concerned, because it was an international export and they're actually going directly from here to Egypt, they actually had to fumigate it going over, meaning they had to ensure it was bug-free from us. Now,
Right.
USDA was on site, did that aeration. What I didn't say is the Pilots Association worked very, very well with us. They hope to do more here. As you know, we're gonna have windmills next year. Had a very good, long conversation with the president of the Pilot Association. He looks forward to piloting in windmill ships here.
They were accommodating to our processes.
Very,
and-
oh yeah,
yeah.
it was, I have to say, this was, the agent for the ship, and Purdue, and the Pilots Association, and the ship agent happened to compliment us, said this has gone far better than his loads in Toledo and Burns Harbor. He said they, you know, for the system we used, and we kept going 24/7, no stop. He said it was just great. He said he didn't believe it. For the first saltwater ship we've done in
Yeah.
grain loading, he said, you know, he gonna be their agent from now on, he was very happy. I mean, and I was expecting issues, but there really wasn't any. We had some
They've
minor
come
mechanical
into
issues.
fresh before.
Huh?
They've come into fresh water before. You said Toledo,
There are salties that go there for corn, yes, and for soybeans. For us, we've never done this.
right,
Since the grain towers are down, we didn't export from them either, we usually just brought in.
yeah.
For exports, he was ecstatic, so I think it raised us, because these guys talk, it raised our level in the lakes. As I go into phase one, in just a minute, I have some good news. It gives us a different image now, because not only did the ship like us, the ship's agent liked us, the shipping company liked us, it just was, I think, a very positive experience. It was a long procedure.
Yeah.
I don't remember most of it, Tom, quite frankly,
They
because I was very tired.
Yeah, they draft about the same, so
Well,
the channel was good.
yeah, our channel, here's the issue on the channel. Right now, we have, according to the latest charts, and I'll get into that in just a minute, very briefly, we have seaway depth throughout our entire port area. We're right now at 25 and a half, almost 26 feet, all the way through the approach. Congress has set it to 24 feet, but we're way lower than that. So we have more water than what is charted. When you add the low water datum that was set in 1958, when you look at the charts that we have now, it proves that we had at the entrance over 32 feet of water. In here, they took a full load out.
Yeah.
They couldn't take any more because they couldn't draft it out with the 16.6 on the St. Lawrence Seaway. So, looking at our projections, we have seaway draft here all year.
Obviously, you can only go to 16.6.
26.6 is the
26,
is the seaway draft. So we've got that water, and the Pilots Association, the president, acknowledged that and basically said, we look forward now coming to the port. The only minor drawback we have is a ship of that size does not have the ballasters, the thrusters adequately
Turn.
to turn in our basin. So they need tug assist, but we're working on that now. There's several other possibilities. We were lucky because we had 2 tugs in the harbor, and we'll have tugs, throughout the season. So if they want to choose to load another salt water, we'll have the tugs here. Typically, the other 4 lakes have the tugs there all the time.
Right.
It's an added cost to bring them through the Welland Canal into here, which is the issue with us and tugs. As far as windmill ships, the BBC fleet and which did the large windmill projects here before, and the split-off fleet, they typically have all the thrusters they need. And they are brought in by pilots without tug assist. So I'm not worried about next year, I'm just worried about larger salt water as we go
Yeah.
forward. Not water depth, it's
No,
tug.
not the turn, yeah.
It's a.
Is
it's a
there
turn.
any way we could implement a shore-based cable turnway? Nothing
No.
like that?
Pilots have a procedure, they're responsible for the ship as it comes in, and this is their standard procedure, is to use a tug to tug.
So they
assist.
wouldn't want to?
Probably Fran knows a lot about that.
Wouldn't want to attach
No,
anything on
never.
shore?
No, how would you couldn't turn it,
Not anything that size.
yeah, we're talking.
800 feet or bigger than that?
And then the winching system you have, it'd be cheaper to
Yeah.
buy a tug to do that. And I mean, as we look at I
Maybe
don't,
next year.
Are you expecting more seaway travel this summer?
it depends. As I was saying, in the aluminum, we've seen now a minor uptick in aluminum. They're still operating under their contracts from last year's during the tariffs. Tariffs hurt us greatly, that's why our stevedoring revenue is down immensely. I mean, I'm not happy about it, but it's one of those things, your hands are tied, I can't, we're 1 tweet away, that's why we're going to an FTZ zone to try to do that. Purdue wants to do more salt water, that was what the call was. It all depends on market conditions and product. This year, because of the conditions, we're not gonna have an abundance of soybeans.
When you get a ship that size, saltwater, Do you have to call in additional workers?
Yes, it's a big employment boost at the port.
Oh,
Yeah,
is
we had 8 people working around the clock for 48 hours. 8-hour shifts. The first one started at an 8-hour, then we went to 10 hours. So it's a big economic boom for the area in just personnel costs, yes. And it also helps the local farmers. We had many local farmers drop the product off here prior to the ship, and they were able to get a higher market value for the soybeans than they would if they were to put them on a rail or truck. So it kind of it paid for everybody around, so. And that's where we're, as we go in just a minute in phase 1, because that's what the port is hoping to do, is do more of this and diversify our market. On the aluminum ships,
The
we've
learning curve is steep.
Oh, I'm asking questions, I really don't know what I'm talking
they were good questions.
about.
Aluminum ships, I said, we have 2 scheduled. They're minor amounts of loads that we normally get. We haven't broke through the tariff barrier yet. Once you put a plan in place to avoid them, it takes an awful lot to get past that. Hopefully this fall we'll see a bigger uptick. I was very happy, I'm very happy to report that we did have a customer come back, Trafigura. They're gonna bring 10,000 metric tons to the port this year, for this year. So that's something we weren't even expecting. So that's gonna help cushion us as we go through the summer. But again, I hate to say this, but we are a business at the port, and we're effective in the market. And the market is a downturn this year on our 2 major products.
How is pricing to get Trafigura?
I won't say that out loud.
No,
Yeah.
you got to go lean.
Yes, I went very lean, yeah. My whole thing is bringing product on, and that's why you see the financials.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had to go very lean on the spread for a margin on what we can charge. And by the way, we didn't raise anything this year, only because we got hit with tariffs. We have to bring customers back, and the whole, I mean, well, you can see we have aluminum now. Before, a month ago, there was nothing. So we are starting to build back, but this is gonna be unfortunately what I got in 2017. It took me 8 or 9 months to get to those financials in 2018. This is the same thing. It's gonna take me another cycle to get us back on track again to where we were, but, Tom, it's a business cycle. I can't do anything about it. Dean Marine, good news, they're back, they signed a contract. We get 4 payments of $125,000, so that's good. That's been signed in, so that's gonna be extra revenue for us. Dredging, as I said, dredging is basically finished now. There was 3 major areas. One was Ken just brought up, is our turning basin. Had silted in, and I was very aggressive in getting that done. All the red is now gone. There will be soundings in a couple weeks. So now we have an unrestricted turning basin, which ship comes in, can turn without issue. Number 2, West Pier. We have Lehigh and Sprague and Lafarge we don't own, but Lafarge is a good neighbor. And they can't advocate for it, but I can. They opened up that whole west side now, area, to put it down to its normal 25-foot depth, which is good, because eventually we want to have cruise ships, eventually we want to do things over there. We need that done, okay? And most important, we have this one little spot at the entrance of the incoming channel that's always been an issue, and that basically is brought about by the break wall to a degree. It's under height because the silting happens there more than it should. They've addressed that. So now, as the captain said, who's the Pilots Association president, we have a clear shot when the soundings, I'm giving him the soundings, as soon as I get them, we have a clear shot right into our money dock here, which made him very, very happy.
Was it the water flow just having to pile up?
Yeah, what happens is we What we do is we get the overrun from the substandard, sub-height break wall, actually brings stuff over in waves, and brings it up and over. We don't have any cleaning in this area. It just stays. Even though the river goes back, there's spots that there isn't enough current to move it away. So, and we're not using it on the west side as much as we have, so that just collects. Because usually ship props and stuff will move
Clean it
slow.
out.
Yeah, here we've got tons of water. We've got like 34 feet in one spot over here. I mean, and that's with added water. I mean, you know, you jump in there, you're gonna be able to have scuba tanks to get to the bottom. It's really deep. So, but that's what we use all the time, so it keeps that down. Harbor dredging is fine. Emergency repairs, we suffered a failure. Not to the point of the road going in or the rail, but to the point of the safety. And just show you what I'm talking about just briefly, right here, is that, basically this happened at the port, okay? And this looks, it looks bad, it is bad. But what happened is that this, during the high water in 2017, moved all the rock out of the revet wall and allowed water to come in. And as you know, we've been going since 2000, most of 18 to get these projects approved. They were approved about 2 months ago. Unfortunately, we were going out to bid now. We've gone out to bid, preparing the bid documents to get the road actually rebuilt. But this couldn't exist any longer because it got into the safety zone. These are rails. We have to stay about 10 feet from the rail ties. Ties are into here right now, okay? Therefore, we would have been possibly closed the line down because of safety. What we did is we talked to CNS Engineering, who has original FEMA project that we awarded last year, is we went in and we rebuilt this section, and there's another section just like this. So hopefully we'll be reimbursed out of the original FEMA project. It looks like we will be, but I had to make a call and go repair it because we have a number of rail cars. We have like 36 rail cars coming in over the next few weeks, and we can't afford another minor storm taking out the safety margin, because then you get to a point where, you know, any weight on the rail will cause it to tilt. So I believe I gave everybody an email on that too, just to let you know we were moving ahead with that.
As the legislative session closed and the budget was done, there was some additional set-asides for the lakes, right?
Yes, and we're gonna talk about that in just a minute.
Hi.
DOT Phase 1, I'll read you this email I received on Thursday. This is from our,
You want to go, Ron?
Yeah, could we just?
Yep. Sure.
pause? Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad that you're here. If you want to introduce yourself,
Sorry
we
I'm
always
so
do
late,
that.
flash floods in Maryland, we're not expected this morning. I'm Reg Mtg. I think
We're
I know
happy
most
that
of
you're
you.
here.
Welcome.
Glad to see you around.
Good to see you, Chair.
Ken Stevens, nice to meet you.
Fran Enright.
Connie
get that?
Casamento.
Okay.
Bill Scriber.
Yeah, we met.
Great. Okay, we'll continue. Glad that you made it, and we're glad to have you.
We're in section B. B.
My report, which is hopefully going well. DOT, I received an email from Mike Cassidy. Actually, I received it on Friday, but I had a conversation with him on Wednesday. He says, we spoke with Ron Epstein of New York DOT, who has assured us that your funding requests are in hand and are just working on the timing of announcement with the governor's office. So I'll believe it when I get that contract in my hand. But
That's for,
Phase 1 and the FEMA. Okay. The Phase 1 is what we've been working on for a while now, and we budgeted out what it would cost to build what we need to build. That would basically knock down Dome 1, just for new people, put an 85-foot, 150-foot in circumference, grain tower, modern. It'd do the electrical groundwork, it would do the, rail and truck dump pit and loading system. It would do a, USDA approved waste scale, automatic control room. It would redo Dome 2's roof, Dome 3's roof, and repave East Dock area. And maybe some other things, if we get and add alts to it.
Probably 12 million, right?
12.5 million.
Bill, would you mind sending that around? Because I don't know about other people, but I'm better visual than I am.
What you want me to say?
Send.
The email that you read.
Oh.
Do you mind?
And is that email the most recent update that you've had from the state?
Yes,
Okay.
and it's verified by everybody I've talked to, so.
Okay.
When do you anticipate the
Here, Ken.
Announcement?
contract?
I don't ever, I have learned since I've been here never to anticipate anything.
Is there a
To
window?
I would say this summer the window would be.
Okay.
Where the window's closing very quickly on what we have to do, because we have under development right now a bill grant. I was hoping, and by the way, a bill grant is the old Tiger grant, it's federal funding through New York State, or so US Department of Transportation to make improvements on rail and infrastructure throughout the United States. We won a Tiger 4 grant a number of years ago. We're right now working with CNS to develop the grant, and our deadline is fastly approaching the middle of this month. So unless I have a commitment letter, I can't use that as a match for the full build-out. The full build-out for projects is a little over, well, it's $23,050,000. That would redo the entire east dock, redo a new conveyor system for the barrel building, redo a new roof for the barrel building. It would knock down then Dome 2 and put another grain matching tower, connect all the buildings together with a top grain system, so we would not necessarily be bound any longer to put stuff in one, and then we could mix and match almost on demand. And then we would have, and I forgot, in phase 1, it includes a new Dome 4 for potash. We double the amount of potash fertilizer we have on site.
Oh, you're gonna put something down.
Yeah, we're putting the dome down, that's in phase 1. We would then be able to connect that via water, and also we'd be able to connect that to a new rail spur down there that would also load, unload potash, so that we would be more efficient at this. So this isn't just building stuff, it's making the port more efficient, how we handle product. Because right now, as I mentioned last month, I'm really having a problem with rail car loading. We never really, when it was, the executive director prior to me never costed out the numbers on what it cost, manpower, you know, revenue numbers, that you would have an idea of what it costs to do the project. So we're, in some cases, not making money on rail car loading. And we have to optimize that as we go in the future. So a lot of this is built into addressing rail cars. And in the full 23,000 million, we're gonna actually create a switching system down at the very end, because our biggest problem is not where we load, it's how we maneuver the weighing of the rail car. If we have a rail car over here, it has to travel all the way up almost to the gate, get switched and brought back down around to be weighed here. That means we can only do so many rail cars at a time, because then we're tying up warehouse space and lot space that we use. It's gotta be rethought, and this grant gives us an opportunity to rethink how we switch cars. And the whole emphasis I'm having is being able to do more cars for loading and a quicker switch to get to our scale. And I have already built in an add alt of doing a scale over here for rail cars, because then that would give us the ability to load directly from the system here, right to a rail car. have a certified weight, and just take it out the gate. That would cut 45 minutes per rail car.
Tell me, does the top load handling system, is that operational by mechanics or by vacuum?
Well, it's gonna be a joystick.
Okay.
It's gonna be a bucket system. We're not
Bucket
gonna get a
system,
bucket
mechanical.
system. Yeah, and it's gonna have, the spouts come down and an operator will be in a control room and he'll just pick out the weight he needs in there and it'll load in each pocket or into a ship.
Is it gonna require any special education for the mechanics on site? or-
Oh, you're gonna have to, yeah, everything's gonna have to be up there. I mean, this is not gonna be, I mean, like anything else, this is gonna be a process but the systems that we're gonna be put in place are in Toronto, Burns Harbor,
Okay.
Hamilton, Prescott. I mean, this is the first of its type on Lake Ontario, because the Canadians have already invested, because Canadian ports receive, well, they're supported by their states or provinces. So when they need something, they just simply put it in the budget and they build it. We'll now be competitive with our competitors like Hamilton and Toronto and Montreal, be able to load efficiently, which means the only other ports that are loading right now are Burns Harbor and Toledo, grain, and we're not in their market area. So
Is
we'll
this-
be the only market area on the New York side, they'll be able to load salt water
This
quickly and
might
efficiently.
generate a larger volume of pass-through Purdue shipping?
It already will start with we're gonna go for a larger volume right here,
Okay.
right on the dock. And
Okay.
the big lift is if we can get the state to commit before the bill grant is due, we can use to do the full build out 1 year. Well, it'll take a year and a half to build everything, but we'll be able to use the whole plan. If not, we gotta go back in pieces and build out phase 2.
Now my magic question, as I always ask you, is there grant money available for weighing a rail car in a two-scale system?
Yes,
Is there?
yeah.
Good.
I mean, the whole system, the whole idea of how this was designed, I mean, you all know I was the guy in the boots and ground who was out there and watching everything, okay? Well, maybe the new members don't, okay? So I have an intimate knowledge of how this thing all works. I mean, I'm a licensed trackmobile operator, though I don't do it because, that would not be right, but I know how I've been out there, I know how all this works to pieces. So when I sat down with CNS engineers, I told them how the pieces should work and how it would be most effective to work. So this is what this plan is being designed for, and so that we don't repeat mistakes of the past. The past, we built a bunch of rail, we improved switches, we went to heated switches, we weren't really in need for it, but we did. And we should have spent our money on being able to transfer rail cars quicker and easier so we can get them out the gate faster. And that's where our downfall is, and that's what part of this is gonna improve. That was a long explanation, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I had an idea, but I can't remember if it was after the audit committee or after our last board meeting, but I thought with with Connie and Reg coming on that, I know that, Fran, Ken, and Jerry spend a lot of time on property, but, frankly, I don't. And, we have new members, I'm sure they didn't. I thought it might be worth it to, grab a couple of hours someday and just do a property tour. I don't know if you have.
Bill emailed me about that.
Yeah.
Golf cart.
Yeah.
Okay.
I offered both to come down.
Yeah.
It's gonna take at least 2 hours, because
I would extend it out to,
Yeah.
to others, just, because as you're talking about locations and as you're talking about builds, sometimes I'm just not visualizing them. I sat here the longest.
Probably wouldn't hurt any of us regular
I have
members,
PowerPoints on everything.
Refresher?
Yeah.
Go for it.
See, no, I'll be more than glad, I mean, if the chairman doesn't mind, we could just have a working session for members who wanna come in, like a lunch maybe, lunch would be.
I think it would be
Yeah.
great, and
But I would actually just
Yeah.
do a physical tour.
yes.
Yep.
I don't know what you have for.
I-
Well, I'd like to give you the PowerPoints first, so you get a
Yeah.
conceptual, and then the tour would be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
I agree, because there's nothing better than when you're talking about a piece of property or something that's going on at the port, that having seen it, we can visualize it much easier.
Okay, so what I'll do is that sometime this next month, I'll do like a lunch, maybe a lunchtime type, where most people, and then do new member, and then anybody wants to come aboard.
You got any open air vehicles, dump
Yep.
trucks?
Well, we have a new Chevy, what do they call it? Actually, Equinox, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't break
It's
down
not
on the
very
freeway.
open in and out.
Yeah, it doesn't break down on the throughway, so I'm really happy with it, so, I don't use it much, but I know it's there. It goes to the bank a lot, that's what it does deposits, so. I don't take it home, just to let you know, so. Okay, very exciting news, did I tell you guys, there's a new, program, Lake Ontario REDCI, it's 300 million, the governors, has dedicated, you got it in your package there, some of it. He's dedicated it to, Lake Ontario high water, but he also wants to make it an economic development thing. We are in the Oswego, Cuyahoga County, track. There was a meeting in Rochester, governor announced the plan, he's dedicating 300 million to it.
RDCI,
Yep, it's REDCI.
what is that?
It's a Resiliency Economic Development Initiative.
Excellent.
Okay. And it's not the CFA, salary funding application, this is different. Timetable's different. I don't know a lot about it, actually, on Wednesday, there's a meeting at the college. I am going to that. I've already been talking to the county and the city. We have basically a blueprint of what we would use the money for. It's gonna be interesting how the application process is going to work. We haven't received really any guidance yet on that. I'm hoping on Wednesday to receive guidance on that. I will say, as I sent an email out to the board, I had a meeting with Justin from the city economic development and from Dave Turner County. We came to, I think, a really good consensus of what the port is gonna put in for. And they're supportive of us. And basically what I'm looking from is we have 2 barrier walls over on the west which have given out, as you can see. We have the Goebels Dry Dock area that we wanna make improvements to. We have the marina, which we wanna make improvements to. That all fits within the economic and resiliency factors of it. So I really won't be able to give you any more information right now until I go to the meeting on Wednesday. But we have a skeletal plan of what we'd like to do with the money. Also, they want a big thing on Lake Ontario. And I'll talk about that big thing at the last bullet point of my report.
Where's your meeting on Wednesday and what time?
It's the college.
Which
It's,
hall?
No, it's the Hewitt Union Ballroom. CNS is going with me because they've already started on some development plans that we already have on the shelf. So,
What time?
I can't tell you offhand if I look at mine.
So this is an open meeting?
No,
Not an open meeting.
they have to be invited. It's just for the leaders of the municipalities that are affected and the people that are looking to get money from it. So, I'm not sure they'd kick you out, but
I don't think they'll kick me out.
9 o'clock AM. So, we're gonna see how that works. I'm asking for a resolution tonight to apply for the money, just in case. Because usually every grant application, you have to have the authority of the board. So I don't know what I'll update you as I get more information, but I really don't wanna say more than that. HD Light Museum, Foreign Trade Zone, we're moving ahead, we've already started the application process. Hopefully by fall, we'll be done.
So Phil, foreign trade zone, is that to deal with the saltwater ships?
No, it's to deal with everything. A foreign trade zone designates, a parcel of land will become a subzone to Onondaga's foreign trade zone. And what that simply means is that the port, now, anything coming in from abroad that would normally have duties, taxes, or tariffs on it are deferred until it actually leaves the port. Which means, let's say example, aluminum. It's that the people that own the aluminum, because how the market works here at the port is that Novelis doesn't own the aluminum until they want to buy it. So you have Goldman Sachs, Trafigura, Marubeni, all these companies will buy aluminum, arrange for it to be delivered either directly or to our site, and then they have to pay duties, taxes, and fees based on the type of product it is. That means they have to upfront the money immediately before they may have a contract that they may only take 3 or 4 months, maybe sometimes 6 months to put the aluminum up to Novelis, so they receive no remuneration for all those duty fees and taxes. What an FTZ zone then is that actually it's like being in Canada. Say if it comes from Canada, it would still be Canada here. It would only be declared as going into the United States economic stream when it actually left our gate. So they wouldn't have to pay the duty fees and taxes until it left the gate. So for them, it's a cash flow. That means that it could sit here for 6 months, they pay nothing.
As far as
That's an advantage.
duties go.
Yeah, so it's a cash flow. It gives us a market advantage because now if tomorrow someone gets upset and gets on Twitter and says that we're tariffing someone like last time, doesn't matter. We're hurt by the tariffs because they redid their logistics supply chain to avoid paying all the tariff at once on large shipments like what we had sitting in there. So now we have the advantage of giving them safe harbor. More importantly, an FTZ zone brings in new business. Right now, they're looking at, in 2020, eliminating the windmill credits that have windmills, energy. So windmill companies now are looking for places to dump their product in the United States so they can beat that deadline. We would have that. I'm not guaranteed. So there's many ways we can use that, and honestly, it's one hell of a marketing tool for me to sell the port. Having an FTZ zone is like very good.
And you suspect that it won't be a huge issue, we should be able to get it?
No, it's not a huge issue. We're already in our legislation for an FTZ. That's what we're supposed to do.
I don't want to ask questions too extended.
No, that's all right.
It's okay.
So originally, the board authorized to make an application because of tariffs. Now, because it's a marketing tool, it allows me to offer that to other customers, and I think a lot of customers will be interested, especially on heavy lift projects. I mean, if you bring something in from Europe, you can let it sit here 4 or 5 months, and you don't have to pay duty taxes on it. So we now have a more, a better logistics, people have a better logistics plan when they come to the port, because they don't have to do it right on certain times. They can bring it in and let it sit till next year, and then deliver it next year. So, of course, we'll charge for storage.
I knew there was a negative for somebody.
H. Lee White Museum, LT Tug, memorandum attached. This is what I had a meeting on today. We brought it up today because she needs to have a memorandum updated. I know I've got mine here somewhere. There it is. Okay. Is that in order for the H. Lee White Museum to make application for money, they have to have, because we own it, we insure it, they have to have an agreement from us. What I did is, I put in what I thought was necessary. It has to be approved by the board of directors of the port. and it is only effective for 5 years. That means they can make applications for grants for the LT tug on our behalf, for its maintenance only. I apologize, we can come to this at the end of the meeting if they want some time to read, but I kinda,
Who drafted the resolution?
this is the MOU that was in effect previously by the board. We just altered it because, before it was the executive director, and I felt the board should approve it. And two, it was for 25 years, and I think we all don't wanna go 25 years on anything unless it's paying us money, like Lehigh and Sprague, that this is, down to 5 years. So, and basically, that's what I'm proposing. We got into a very long discussion on many, many things. We have some issues with the LT tug. One of them is that it has oil in its tanks. And honestly, we don't know what that oil consists of, and it can't be in there because in order to apply for money, they have to have a survey done of the tug, which has not been done in a number of years. And help me out, Fran, if I get wrong on this, because you're a ship guy. I've contacted Glider Oil, who's our provider, asked them to go take a look at it, how to pump it out. Seems to be, I'm told, in only 2 tanks. I don't know the volume, they don't know, they really know nothing about it. They have an $8,750 dollar figure of a naval architect to come in and do a survey of it, so they can certify its condition, which is a requirement of many of these grants. They have $6,000 saved up. These are the shortfall, $2,750. It's a tight year this year for us. Tight. We gotta discuss that. I committed that we would go ahead and look to see how we were gonna take the oil out. It's not really worth anything. It sits in there forever, it's probably just sludge. They mix normal diesel with, I guess a few years ago, they put some more diesel in it. It's nothing that we could use, so there'd have to be a disposal fee on it. I'll contact the county and see if they wanna use it for the burners, if I can get away for free, or anybody else wants to use it, cause they have the, the furnaces by waste oil and stuff. I'm sure I could find someone if I could just
Yeah,
get
'cause
it.
it's not overrode with fuel, right, so
Yeah.
it hasn't had any of the, and it's
Yeah,
probably
it's-
high sulfur, but you have to be below 50 parts per million
Right.
on the
So-
sulfur and the diesel to be overrode, so this is the industrial stuff that you can build, that you use in, on a big, off-road equipment.
So those are the issues I'm dealing with the museum. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. You might have to see me again on an email or get direction, but any money that they can get to help maintain it is better than us having it sit and sink, and then we're responsible for it, because it's ours.
I would suggest that when they pull a sample of that oil, have it tested, and we get the report before we decide what to do with it, because that could be valuable. I mean, diesel doesn't go bad like gasoline does.
Well, Glider would do that for us, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
diesel doesn't go bad, so you can put an additive in there, and it could be sold off-road. Yeah, we may not get 50 cents out of the dollar, but we can get something for it,
I would
depending on,
I'd be happy to get it out and maybe make a couple pennies on it.
that's what I'm saying, 50 cents would be, somebody would be willing to come in
What is its
and buy that
purpose within the tug?
Diesel
What does it do?
tanks.
to the engine.
It's got 2 tanks.
So then,
Actually, it's 7 tanks, but only 2 they understand have diesel in them. And that's why I asked Glider to come, stick it, look at it, and then give me a cost.
I guess, let me rephrase. How does the tug run?
It doesn't.
Doesn't,
So the memorandum discusses its movability, is that another tug tugging the tug.
That's one way to be able to move it.
How long has it been operational? It used to be operational.
Used to be, but it had to do with the parts,
Yeah, they
it
can't
was-
repair it, and it's very expensive to run it.
And it's been sitting so long now, and you'd have to redo the whole engine system. I mean, it's just a,
If you get an opportunity to go down, take the tour, the tug.
I mean, years ago I was on the board, so I've been on it, but that, because it was operational then, but I'm sure they lost their tune of.
That, I think, has happened too, yeah.
I'm not gonna comment on those issues, but I'll only say that what has happened is that if it had been remaining operational, it probably wouldn't be in this situation, but unfortunately, it is. So, I'll simply say, any money that they can receive to help maintain it
Well,
is a
perhaps
good thing.
if we could
Because it
get-
falls back on us.
Yeah.
That's the
Well,
problem.
Well, perhaps if we could get money from the oil that's in there, that money could go toward the money they need for it.
What does it do? Hey, I know it's an historical craft, but at this point, what is its value as an attraction versus expense to maintain?
That, we would have to ask, quite frankly, Tom, Mercedes and them. For us, we spend,
Perhaps it would attract more attention at the bottom.
At the bottom of the lake.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's
or
what.
dive,
Yeah.
you know,
it seems to be their major attraction in the museum for people to take tours.
Okay,
Okay, that seems to be their major one.
okay.
But you
Yeah, I
made a
think
very
because
good
of its
point.
role,
Yeah.
the role that it played
Yeah.
in this.
Yeah, people like to see
And it-
boats
and
when
it-
they
Yeah, I
go
know,
to the
no, no,
museum.
no.
It may,
People
I
also like to
believe
dive
it
to
may
do
be
it
the
too.
last one.
And you don't have to maintain them down
I
there.
think it may be the last one.
It is, the last existing one. It is the last existing Army tug.
well,
Navy still got some, but this is an Army tug.
the thing is I don't know who has been working on it. That's what I did. I'm a marine engineer, steam and diesel unlimited. I sailed all those big 1,000-foot ships up there for 12 years. And I just can't, I don't understand
Up
what
where?
they're talking about. As far as it's non-functional, what's wrong with the engines, where are the parts, what really went on over there. So, I mean, we could even get over to New York State, the Maritime College, and have a bunch of cadets come down and rebuild the damn thing, as part of a,
Training exercise.
well, we used to do it when I was at school. I mean, as cadets, we would go down, we'd overhaul diesels and do all sorts
You
of
learn
stuff.
how to work it.
That's how you learn. But, yeah, so I just don't know the validities of all the claims has to do with the engine, why it doesn't work. The other fuel tanks, I guess, were filled with cement for ballast so they could stabilize it, but we are gonna need fuel tanks if this thing would ever run. And I agree, what's the cost and balance on this? What's it costing us as opposed to what the Maritime Museum is getting out of it? Again, is this gonna be another one of them big, dollar sucks that it's bad enough we're paying for the building. I mean, as far as all the repairs now, it's how much is that tug costing us? And, what's our donation part to keep that going?
Our insurance on it is around $6,000 a year.
Yeah, but we're looking at the,
Is that
the
something,
next
could
donation.
that ever be dry docked?
Yeah, it could be,
It could be, yes,
at an
but where?
expense.
Well, that was my other question.
And it would not be inexpensive. That is so heavy, you would actually have to have a slip to bring it up in. You cannot crane that off the water. Not any crane we could put over there. I mean, you'd be looking at, I don't even know if JPW would be the only one to
I
have
think there
big
was
enough.
something here, there's a dark over here, you think so?
Dude, that thing
Oh,
could
that
take a
is-
torpedo, that LT
Oh,
tug.
yeah.
Well, eventually,
That's back when American steel was American steel.
Yeah.
That thing is heavy. So, I mean,
You've got
this
the
is a whole
already.
discussion we probably ought to have.
Yes.
Well, it's gonna happen. whether we want to or not, it's gonna happen
Assign a
within,
committee to it, Madam Chairman.
within
We'll do
10
it.
years, you know, we need to at least talk about it and decide where and what the best use of that is gonna be.
Well,
Because if some of these other plans go through, that people are talking about, marine sanctuary, if we're picked, if it's gonna be our property, our area, you know, the whole big picture, you know, when you tie it together is, that's really not the best place for it.
Aren't boats measured in weight by the water they
Tonnage,
displace?
yeah, displacement and horsepower,
Displacement, horsepower?
yeah.
We
I
will,
imagine probably those specs would be available someplace.
Oh, they got them over there.
Do they?
they have to have them, man.
okay.
So what is the board's desire? Do we want to?
I can set up a committee, but someone is going to have to ask the questions and get the information, and then we're gonna have to make some decisions, or,
Is there a time schedule on this we have to make a
I
decision?
think she wanted this done because, and you were in the meeting with me, Patty, it was like August 1st or something? August 1st is my recollection. Well, actually,
So it's gonna be before
my
the,
recollection is always on paper, so
and she's asking,
August
and
1st.
how much, and she's asking for money?
No, no money.
no, they want permission to pursue
Right.
grant funds.
Right, that's all. As you read the
I don't see a
MOU,
problem
I
with
don't
that.
know either.
Tom?
Yeah.
If we can get it.
I would do it for 2 years to see what happens with the
I
sanctuary.
agree, that was my point, was that.
2 years?
2 years.
Yeah, I think considering everything we've just discussed, that's a good idea.
Just, you know, that'll be the
Yeah.
time frame which decisions are made relative to how that property is gonna be allocated, and you wanna be able to revisit it.
do we have that on the agenda?
You have,
We'll do it in new business.
okay.
Um,
Wasn't that also involved in the Normandy invasion?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
So this is the 75th year for that, this might be the time to strike while the iron is hot.
Well, that's what, you know, they've been utilizing its,
Under new business.
the anniversary to draw attention to, the best of my knowledge.
Okay.
Be nice if it was operation.
And you're signing it, so board of presidents. Okay, let's get down to the end, the good stuff, harbor reception, Harbor Fest reception, okay? Last year, a lot of people did not like it over at Bright Peg Park. That's fine. A lot of people like it here at the port. Only problem is I don't wanna spend a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
So A, if you'd like to have one, I think that is beneficial for the board members, and if you invited guests to have it, watch the fireworks, have something here. A few of our vendors, I mean, not all vendors come, so I mean, when we talk about Purdue Crop, or what used to be Crop Production Services and a few others, usually we invite, a few ILA members, here. And I think we need to limit the number overall of people to make it,
With that open contract, are we sure they're not gonna picket us again this year?
Like they did that.
Seriously?
it's up to you, whatever you wanna do. But what I would suggest is that, give myself, the chairman, and Patty a limit of what you wanna spend, and we will then formulate that into an event, if you want to have an event. So it's your discussion.
Yeah, an idea of what we.
I've got a rowdy small crowd of septuagenarians, maybe I'd like to bring.
Was that-
Yeah.
Rowdy.
Patty, was around 5,000 last time? We would wanna minimize that a little bit.
Oh,
So then when you start minimizing the amount you're going to spend, you've got to minimize the number of people you're going
oh,
to
yes.
have, or what you're going to,
And that is a Saturday night that you're talking about?
yes.
That would be yes.
What kind of reception is this?
Saturday night?
The night of fireworks of Harbor Fest,
Uh-huh.
to have a little reception here for board members, employees, vendors, to watch the fireworks and have something to eat.
Maybe a few congressmen and.
Well, we typically would invite like the local senators, and congresspersons,
Yeah.
and senator, if this, they show up, they're invited, they usually don't come, they came once, that I recall, maybe twice.
I was just gonna say,
I know, I know,
Unbelievable.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Well-
Can
we
you
would-
see them from here very well?
Yes,
oh, yeah.
really nice.
Oh, God, it's the
Best
best.
place in the world, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One, except, well, actually, the.
See the
west-
lower tier, the upper
the
tier,
west
the
tiers-
lake
Because I
tier.
usually go by the
west- the west tier is better, but
That's a
It
good
is,
spot.
you're right on top of them.
what consistently
Reflects across the lake.
takes away
It's good
from
here.
the
We go
experience
on
is
boats over here.
the lack of a sound system that's ever tied
True.
into the radio, that's ever played the music.
in
concert with the- So I've seen it done here a number of times, and never once was,
I would say
it's
it's a
synchronous.
good reception at the phase one.
so unless you're gonna
Yeah.
do a sound system, I think you defeat half the purpose of fireworks, my opinion. And, you know, I hosted a very nice reception back on the tall ship, when you get the sound system right, it really works. Since we're not sponsoring the fireworks, I would be.
I don't have
You're not gonna be in town?
And you'll have the
Oh, I
sound
have to-
system right, right?
I have to make an announcement, the sound system will be right, yeah.
is the port, are we giving anything towards the fireworks?
No, we spent $10,000 for Harborfest,
We do spend 10,000.
for sponsor.
And use
We-
areas too.
We
Actually, it's more
sponsor the
than
west part,
10,000.
east part.
Okay, let me go out through the whole thing. The port spends more than 10,000 for Harborfest. One, we dock their barge here, we provide security for it for 24/7. We assist them in putting stuff on and stuff off. If you want it, we're probably 25,000 in use of what we donate to Harborfest. So we don't get a big pat on the back, but any community should know that we probably do more than most people for Harborfest outside of the big fireworks.
I'll
can
make
announce
that, I'll make that part of the announcement.
Huh?
Okay.
I'll make that part of the announcement.
Okay,
There you go.
thank you.
There we go.
Well,
It's one of the
Simply
things that
true.
we do,
It's very
Yeah,
easy to do.
it's a reality.
and we provide the West Pier to them. This year, we're doing it for helicopter rides. I mean, and this year, we're providing them the area for the carnival rides, the amusement rides. So you could say,
You're in
we're
kind-
Harborfest this year.
Yeah,
You're
we're a
in,
big part
you're
of
in
it.
kind donations,
Yeah.
make you a major sponsor.
Yep, so I mean, and I just thought of it when you brought it up there, I mean, like, you know,
We
we're
put a lot
providing
into
the,
it.
we're providing the rides for them, not the money, but the area for them, we're providing the barge fireworks for them, the West Pier for, and, you know,
But what you gotta get is somebody with a decent sound system, and make sure they get the right radio station.
gotcha.
That would help.
It hasn't happened yet.
I'm very concerned to know if all this money we're spending on Harborfest would be legal through the port.
I know, I was just thinking that.
Ethics again.
You're not.
Maybe I shouldn't have brought that
You're not
up.
spending a lot of.
So we
time.
could have a paltry little $7,500 party, couldn't we? Instead of 5,000, maybe 10?
So what would the board like to do? Would they like to, have a party, let's go with number one, would you like to have a reception here?
Yes.
Yes, modest, yeah.
Modest, okay, two, would you empower the chair, the executive director, and Patty to come up with a plan to have
Yeah.
it?
Yes.
I don't think we need to vote on this.
Best place to watch the fireworks is fire.
Okay, I just wanna check stuff off. Okay,
Did we have a 5,000 versus 750? Seems like a pretty big range.
Yeah,
We might wanna have like maybe
Under
more of a
five.
target.
under 5.
I'd
Okay.
like it to be.
Now, wait a
under-
minute, this is your first night here.
Yeah, he does, you know, numbers are his.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of money. I was
It
just
is a lot of
wondering,
money.
how do we spend that much?
I think a lot of it goes toward food, Patty?
Food and
Food.
drinks.
Food, tents, tables, chairs,
Sound system.
sound system. We had one, we did have
I
one.
think I
last
can
year.
find in the garage somewhere the old boombox.
It is
that
a
was
nice-
a steak.
I wasn't there last.
That's, yeah, because you get the tents and the chair round, that adds up.
Okay.
And we're trying to minimize that, I mean, if we can minimize the number of people, we can minimize everything.
Yes.
That's the problem, is getting the number down.
It's just like anything
We're
else
planning
that
a
you
wedding
have.
this year,
Yes,
believe
it's
me,
where do you
it's-
cut,
It's,
where do you
it's tough.
cut off your guest list. That's all.
Okay.
In the past, we used to invite board members past, going back 20 years. Well, I think maybe we don't invite past board members. This year we invited just current board members. I
Okay.
mean, and have like, you know, 1+1 or 1+2, and just keep the numbers down.
Mhm.
Okay. And then you'll get calls that week from everybody.
That's true.
Okay, moving on, employee handbook, this is something that I've asked the committee chair of governance committee to have a meeting in July,
Yes,
and go over it in detail. I'd like to bring it to a vote, in August,
okay.
if it's agreeable. You all got it last month to look at and comment. You all did your homework, I see there was no comments, so thank you.
I read it.
I read
Yeah,
it.
good, and, I'd like to have it during the day, we can actually talk to
Yes.
HR, we can discuss it.
Now, I'll send an email about this. when I can-
Would you include me in that, John?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Okay, before, this, no,
You
you're
have to,
a second, because I gotta find it.
yeah, let's see this,
Um,
roaming north center and stuff. Oh my, look at that.
Now, Amy needs to do a report, right, about this. You wanna do your report now about it?
My report.
Amy had a meeting here about a week and a half ago with NOAA, the people that are charged of creating a
Yeah.
federal sanctuary here.
It was a nice meeting.
Yes.
It was a great meeting.
It really was.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm saying,
You did a good job. You were the one that does, you're the one that knows the port, and you did a great job presenting.
I so think,
Well, you did a good job.
too bad they didn't drive out of here with some used forklifts and some of the stuff I wanted to give them, but, so we had a very productive, Amy invited them over here. We had a very productive meeting. Fran was here, Dr. Smith was here.
yes, there was.
I think it went very, very well.
I
Phil,
do too.
Phil Church.
Yeah, Phil Church was here,
Yeah,
and basically it followed the public meeting the night before.
Yes.
Right.
Actually, it was good to have it because I didn't fully understand it. Coming from the concept of that meeting and what they were looking for and what we've been talking about for a while, basically, we came up with, I say we, CNS, came up with some just rough draft ideas of what it would look like. And just to let you know, I very well, after we go to the meeting on Wednesday, we may go for this as part of that new 300 million Lake Ontario. They're looking for a big showcase thing that does,
They-
state, the state's looking for a showcase. This does many things. It brings in a federal sanctuary, which we really should be, I think, the center of it, seeing most of the shipwrecks are right here. Second of all, they need to have a headquarters where they can send out, station a superintendent. There's 100,000, I think it was 100,000 people that, Thunder Bay gets a year
yeah.
from theirs, 100,000 was it?
Yeah.
And then we should look at the water. Well, we own 85% of the water in the city. We just do. And so what
Waterfront.
waterfront, is that I asked them to come up with meld a couple ideas and just throw it out there so when we discuss it, we'll have something. So this is basically what we came up with.
Oh, nice.
This is actually the property we own right now, Goebel's Dry Dock. And basically, they put together, and this is pretty accurate, because they have a way to map things on property and tell you square footage and stuff like this. This is nothing in-depth, this is just a first pass, kind of an idea of what it would look like. They basically believe we can have a 2-story structure, mixed use, and maybe a sanctuary right here. This is what we're looking at, that actually would fit on the site. The whole global dry dock area, which Jerry and Fran's going over and looked at, which is basically sinking in, we would stabilize actually the banks. We actually own all the way over to here. And that is just like gone. We could then re-establish this back to the original sailing slip repair that it was used for years and years ago. our benefit would be, we could build a building right here, see this? And that's a 3-story, and this is a 2-story. Now, these are conceptual designs, they're not in stone. This is what it would look like here.
Bill, whose design is this?
It's not a design, it's a conceptual.
Whose concept is this?
CNS,
Okay,
working with me.
all right, good.
I
Okay.
sat down and said, I'd like this to look like this. And I'd like it to fit. Because as we go forward, the idea is, we would also like to build a performing arts center. That is something that Fran has been intimately involved with and pushing. We know the college is in for it, the
Yeah.
city's for it, the county, everybody's for it.
Regional
Yes.
performing
Yeah.
arts people.
Our problem is, at the moment, is that this and this, we need parking, we own over to here. We own, this is where the attractions for Harborfest will be, we own that right there. We own all the way, so this tree is a few feet over this tree, right, Fran? And
Yeah,
then we shoot all the way down to the water.
about the third parking.
We actually own the road here too, but we wouldn't block Coast Guard off, we're friendly with them. Is could we build this a little bigger and combine the two?
Yeah.
That's what we've got an RFQ out for right now. But I wanted to bring these concept designs to you only because the REDC meeting on Wednesday, I'm gonna actually float this to the state and say, this is what we'd like to build. And we would have an attraction on Lake Ontario that would be equal or greater than Kingston, Ontario. And there would be nothing on the lake like this. And this would be a huge economic development for the city. And I say the city. When I talked to the mayor last week, I've talked to everybody about this, right? We've talked to the county, we've talked to the city. This isn't just for the port to make money on, this not. We've got a charge under our initiating legislation to do things like this. To think big, build bold, and create recreational, historical, whatever. There even could be an opportunity to move most of all the museum over in a building like that, so that maybe your director could then sell a Oswego cruise line center, and we had that West Pier that basically could fit a 250-person lake cruiser, which are coming lakes now, on that dock.
Deep enough.
We could take that whole first floor of the museum, turn it into a reception area, tourist center, with customs screening and all that stuff we need, and then we're gonna use that building. So there's ideas out there, but I think this is just a concept.
Yeah, because we did talk about putting it right out at the end of the pier too, because the view would be incredible in the sunset. Then you'd have that area there that you could utilize for parking. Because parking would be an issue, because we're taking up a lot of parking places. But if you move it out onto the west end of that pier, now you could have all this area here for parking, and then if something like this does go through, we could also get a hold of the city and may be able to get additional parking down by Wright's Landing, which I think Billy right now is working with us really well and excited about this too. So I think we could work hand in hand and make this happen. I like the idea out on the West Pier just because it utilizes the view, the sunset, the water,
How would that go in wintertime if you want this to be in all year?
the enclosed. Everything would be, you'd enclose
Access.
it coming down, and access it, yeah, you'd have to enclose the walkway going down. And same,
Well, actually, this would be a year-round facility.
yeah.
I mean, we're not looking at,
Research, they were talking about research when we were here with
you know, we're talking about a
Using
structure, a
utilizing
building
state
that's
university.
multi-use. I
Oh, I
mean,
get-
performing arts is gonna, concerts, community, we have 8,000 students right up there that would love to have, I mean, Dr. Smith said of the 8,000, only 700 eligible for free or reduced tuition, so I think there's a few dollars up there. And here's the point, if we don't do it, who else is gonna do it? City's not gonna do it,
No.
county's not gonna do it, private developers
So
not
how
gonna do stuff.
does did the Sea Grant folks look into this?
Why would they
We
look
want-
into it?
Well, they,
They're in with the Marine Sanctuary.
How does what fit into it?
Sea grant.
The sea grant.
is part of this gonna be their sanctuary,
Yeah, that's the whole
That's this one
concept,
over there.
the whole
so they're
concept.
aware of this? Of this concept?
Yes, we got the Marine
Yeah.
Sanctuary.
We-
No,
we had
oh,
that
yes.
meeting. We had that meeting with Dr.
Oh,
Smith,
we
Fran,
came up with about 2 weeks ago.
we sold the idea that we would like to have the facility here in Oswego. And I think I proposed, I gave them our old drawings
Mhm.
of where we'd like to put it, which is right
They
there.
were basically, wow, they could not
Yeah.
believe, when they said, we weren't expecting this, and they didn't understand that the port was the owner of this property. They thought it was the Maritime Museum, and when they realized it was the port that was
Well,
behind
I was
it.
at that meeting, at the sanctuary meeting, and they just gave us the idea that they hadn't thought about a destination yet.
Well, they have to talk to everyone.
We had the meeting after
After
your
here.
meeting.
The next,
And then we let them know what we had available and how, what
And the
resources.
key
there
here is that we have the county buy-in of wanting it here. We have the city's buy-in. Justin actually had in the waterfront development, build another type of building on our site.
I'm not against this.
No, I'm just giving you the background,
Yeah.
and you have, for them, you have a county, a city, and a state entity all wanting it at once. That shows a great community cooperation. That's what we're
Not
looking for.
only that, but the community itself.
Right.
The meeting they had the night before, it was a very positive.
Yeah, I was there, I spoke.
And no one else on the lake can offer what we offer, because in Thunder Bay, their facility is gorgeous. And we're offering something like that to them, because they're not gonna build it, they're gonna just lease it. So we would derive lease rent from them. We would look to have a cooperative agreement with retailing in that area. Hopefully a performing arts center of some size would be right there. So you create, and because it's walkable, I mean, the city's building that new little thing right next to us, mixed retail and housing. It would join up, be right across the street from it, and they can walk right to downtown. I mean, what do you think, Tom? You're the money guy. I mean, is this a good concept? I didn't mean to bother you when you're reading.
Housing Visions is building the
Yes.
housing site. It's supported by DRI funds, so it's not the city building it, but it is a utilization for what's the property called again?
Flexible way?
Flexo site there. At least, turns into something. Housing Visions is a non-profit entity that operates Syracuse with facilities in Rochester, and Justin knows them well, he used to work there. I think that if there's a designation of marine sanctuary, it makes complete sense that, Oswego make every attempt to, host what would be the federal site of it. I don't know what their needs are, their requirements are. If you were looking to, incorporate the museum in and bring its artifacts and then capabilities, and you should do that. You're still back to this disjointed idea of, what the Marine Museum has control over versus what this port has control over. And until you solve that, you're gonna end up sort of with some disjointed approaches that might look embarrassing externally if we miscommunicate externally to the federal government. If you get the port designation as a national park along with the marine sanctuary, you really start to get some destination pull. It's a little challenging that you have this mixed industrial, recreational use siting, but that is Oswego. Oswego has to come to grips with the fact that it is dual industrial and, you know,
Well, it's who we are.
residential recreational.
Yeah.
So, you know, make it work that way.
That's our identity.
Yeah. You know, the board, you know, the board goes away and that all goes to some private development and, and you got a bunch of people building houses that get lashed by, the, you know, ice storms all winter. It's brutal out there. So, you know, you're gonna have housing down there out of the housing visions. It is mixed-use facility, which is market rate and subsidized housing. You know, there's a lot of grant money that makes that work. They're looking to provide retail space there also. If you could bring the Marine Museum into a more modern facility that also houses the sanctuary, that also provides perhaps a venue for performing arts, I'm not seeing out of those dimensions how that works. But, you know, if CNS thinks it fits in, it works, and you think it fits in, it works.
We're exploring it now.
Yeah.
Just the whole thing is exploring.
And when you first said it, I was thinking more of the outdoor amphitheater type setting, but, you know, again, outdoor activities here are a 5-month prospect.
Is this going to include also the welcome center for the barge canal, or hasn't that been considered?
We haven't talked about that yet.
Yeah.
That's another, that's gonna be another.
Here's what I would do.
Yeah.
I would pursue it. But the best way to pursue it is to first sit down with the full board of the Marine Museum and come to some clear understanding of, you know, whose legal rights are what, and what are the best outcomes for the city, its historical preservation, and its economic revitalization going forward. Otherwise, what you're doing is, you know, they're sticking plans out there, you're sticking plans out there in the same place, and then laying claim as the landowner. You win. You
The
get the
city's
trump card.
plan, the city's plan and our plan are identical. They see it in the waterfront plan,
Mhm.
they have the
Yeah,
same
this is-
vision we do.
This is about populating the Marine Museum with a little bit more breadth and depth of understanding and leadership.
And we were supposed to look
I'm
into
saying this
it when
in
we-
public, I don't know how else to say
That's
it,
why I
but
wanted the meeting.
until you sit down
With the planning and development committee?
and,
We need it.
until you sit down and, you know, have open discourse, where we listen, they have a thesis, we have an antithesis, we reach a dialectics and synthesis, you know, you end up with something. Otherwise, you're gonna get it by the assertion of your control, which you can do. Frankly, based upon my understanding, you can assert full control over the facility. In my mind, the governance of that facility operates under the auspices of the Port Authority, according to the documents that I've read. I haven't done a legal analysis of that. I assure you that right now they are. I believe that we should, and then we should have a good discourse, where everybody's fully knowledgeable and open to what are the best outcomes for each organization. You're here to nurture and build that museum, not attack it and destroy it, right?
I agree.
Right.
So their perception needs to change to understand that you're here to protect it, nurture it, and help it be part of the city's and the region's revitalization.
It's gonna be a vital part of the overall view of that side of the lake, or excuse me, that side of the West Pier. And we've already discussed that, and I wanted, that's why I wanted a part of it, to have a committee meeting, to have, bring it to August to discuss it, because right now, it's a little bit lengthy of a process to sit here and discuss
It
all
is.
the documents that
It is.
Yeah,
we have.
it's-
But I brought this up to Mercedes twice now, and she's very positive.
Yeah.
Today, right Patty,
Yes.
of that as a
I think,
concept.
she was, you know, she was positive when they floated the idea of whatever was happening at the Flexo Wire site, that the Marine Museum would have a new home there. They just want a home, the water access, it would be great to have access out to the lighthouse to continue those tours, and instead of us telling them every time they're wrong, help them be right.
Well, I think this plan, so to speak, encompasses both the city's vision, the county's vision, and what I've been able to ascertain from Port, our vision.
Mhm.
And it's gotta be workable. No matter what we do, it's gotta be economically viable. The first thing I say around media, we're not looking to make money on it, we are not looking to go in debt on it. I mean, we have some options here.
I think it'd be a tremendous.
We're gonna be the ones that carry the
Yeah.
ball, the city isn't gonna be carrying it, and the county isn't gonna be carrying it, we are.
Let me-
So,
let me-
has
let me-
Patty come up with a list of, the planning and development committee's free time for this week?
Well,
This week has been kinda jammed out.
Let me go back to a concept of that, the authority and the authority's purpose is stewardship. When the inland port was first being developed as a private development, and the Regional Economic Development Council was looking at it and brought the Port of Authority in. They brought the Port of Authority in because they believed that the stewardship would be better under a state entity. Unfortunately, at that time, our leadership didn't match that stewardship outcome, and that revealed itself, and that's where that opportunity went away. Again, I would think that the state authority acts as a good steward for a public project, and this is all really public because, but it's fake, when you start talking about federal, state, county, and city coming together to create destination and attraction along the lakefront in an industrial, recreational, residential port setting, we have to talk about it in those terms. I spent too many years here having people talk to me about utilizing the lake as an asset while ignoring the fact that it's an industrial port. And my counter is to always say, where in other parts of the country of the world will these two things sit side by side and work in some harmony? Because if you take away the industrial side of it, you strip away the economics of it. If you think that, living in recreation is going to make up for that solely for the loss of the industrial, you haven't spent enough time out there in February. You got guys coming out with floating cities out there, That'll work. I think that this looks like something that sits in harmony with the setting and creates an attraction, but we should do it with the Maritime Marine Museum inclusive.
Right.
And so that we don't confuse the federal government as to who and what we are, and we don't look like we don't have our act together. Because once they stop trusting you, they stop listening to you. And if they see two entities bickering, they will stop listening.
Yeah. They'll find a place where you don't have
That's
two entities
right.
bickering and give the grant to them.
and that is in part why they were very excited about the meeting the night before.
Yeah.
Because it's one
Yeah.
thing to get the support of
It
your
was,
city,
I
your
was
county.
there also, kind of
Yes.
spoke very elegant.
And when you get your community support also, it makes it a much
Very nice.
more attractive venture. But I have a few things I want to talk about in executive
Yes.
session along
Yeah,
those lines also.
I put it out there, knowing the camera's there, to express my thoughts.
Thank you.
Yeah, well noted. I think we already had a very good meeting with one of the board members and Mercedes today. She loves the idea. I presented it to her over a week and a half ago, that we were just looking at this concept. And honestly, I think this benefits not only the port, the city, the county, the museum, but also if we're ever to get in the cruise line industry, which is a 3-year, 4-year project, that museum would be a perfect place to put it in.
The building,
Yeah, the
Yeah,
building.
the building.
the
And then we
museum
could-
would continue to exist.
Right,
Exactly.
and we don't have to run it year-round,
Yeah.
it's
And
a,
sometimes you have to separate
Yeah.
the entity
Yeah.
from its building.
Right.
You know, I sit on the Mo's Foundation board. They struggle a lot to think about the building as a separate thing than the museum. But the building is completely unaffordable, as are all of these armories that the state, you know, sold for $1 to nonprofit
Right.
entities that cannot possibly afford to reside in it.
and that's our problem with the museum right now, the amount of money we're spending on its maintenance, its upkeep, year-round is just a lot. And moving them to a newer, improved area, maybe even what we're talking about,
Having them move.
and then
Right.
repurposing the building in a more
Moving them to
economical
Cushing.
way,
Having them moved to Inviting, we can.
yeah,
Well, I think we help
repurposing the
preserve
building,
Our artifacts.
right? Then we don't have to have it open during winter. I mean, it could be closed down,
Right.
saving us at least $10,000. And then, only during the summer months, opening the building where we don't need all this.
Leaving it where it is now, you mean?
Well, we can't move that building. We already found out that taking down just the cement tower, or excuse me, the grain towers was a project that should never been started. But, yeah, and then building would have a new life, a new use, and things would all, I think, work, so.
So Bill, are you saying that Mercedes saw this?
Yes,
Okay.
saw
Well,
it
that's a good
a week and a
thing.
half ago. I gave her a copy of it at our tourism meeting I was invited to, and again today, we discussed it.
Good, that's a good thing.
Bill, I'm just not sure if I heard it straight here. The museum would be part of this complex? It would be in one of these
Somewhere,
buildings?
yeah.
It's in there somewhere. And the music hall or whatever is not part of this,
Performing Arts Center.
Performing Arts Center.
Probably
right.
would be,
Oh, it probably would be in here.
yes.
Okay.
But here's the point, we have to, again, we put out an RFQ out, it's due the 10th. We're going to have to choose a company to move forward with it, and then they would do a more in-depth analysis of size, square footage necessary, how it would fit, cost involved, what the economic outlook would be for that in this market area, a market survey,
Mhm.
analysis.
But it's not gonna look like this.
It might.
It might, I don't know.
You can't, maybe, not to maximize the square footage you've got to work with, Bill. You can't have something that looks like this in that small area over there
Can.
and have it encompass all,
Can.
you know, if we'd have had a meeting with
Okay,
the
okay.
development
Can.
committee
Okay.
before this
Can.
meeting, we could have done away
Can.
with all of this.
Okay.
This is a
This is
preliminary concept.
This is something that was done for us, like you take on
I
a program and
understand.
drop a box.
But there's something here that's not gonna work, and the thing there that's not gonna work is the limited amount of square footage you've got. For the limited amount of square footage you've got to work with.
When we get
It's gonna
ready
have
to
to
do
be a
this,
rectangle.
when we get ready to do this, what we do will fit.
Right, this is just a concept drawing, like the city did one. They did it on the same site.
So where is the Marine Museum? Still out here on the other side of the elevators? Or these two?
Yeah, we can't move that.
You can't move that.
Can't move the
No.
building.
How,
Not the building.
that's 3-foot concrete, reinforced rebar, with 3 stories of driven piles.
That building
into
won't.
That
That-
building's
that's
not
fine.
going down.
That's fine.
I mean, they couldn't take
So
the
you're
towers
gonna,
down.
gonna attach like a
We're just gonna, That's
border
for
patrol
future.
office there
no,
eventually?
no.
If
What-
we get
what-
in the shipping business?
What we were just having an idea about, Ken, is that if we did move the museum to a more modern and economical space, it leaves a building open then to do something that we would like to do is cruise ship lines. The one drawback we have right now is we do not have a facility that customs will take people in. We need to have people reception center, we need to screen them, and we need then to allow them to go into the city. Now, to build one of those reception centers is probably $1 million. But we have several $1-million buildings sitting right there with very minor improvements could suffice for that.
You're
That
talking
then
about
t-
the museum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Museum
takes
building.
years.
The building, yeah.
I am too.
Yeah.
Then we have a concept we can then go to cruise ship lines with and sell them a stop in Oswego here and provide them a facility. They want a facility to bring their people, not a trailer, not a tent.
Please,
And this
don't
there,
talk to
okay.
me like I'm an idiot.
Okay,
No,
let's
I'm
move
Okay,
on.
I understand that. I've got one more question. You've got a bullet point that's not on here, on your report. And that is what's going on with the RV park.
Supposed to start on Wednesday.
I'm sorry,
Supposed to start on Wednesday.
Wednesday? Okay, I thought maybe you might report that tonight.
It's good, very hard getting that contractor to start the contracting.
Very hard to what?
Get the contractor to start contracting, building it.
So
He's had
we're-
other jobs outside of here he's
Because
been
of the
doing.
weather.
Yes, and the weather.
Oh, I understand, but the weather's given us a break. I thought maybe
And
we
we
were
had
gonna
a-
save that property for something in the future, maybe a better idea than the RV park.
No, we're committed to the RV park
We are
building,
committed,
Yeah, we voted on it.
that's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah, okay.
but it's not just, I mean, you can't do docks and buildings at the same time. You do an RV park, I mean, it's just,
Well, I hadn't heard when this RV park was supposed to start, that's why I asked. That was my simple question.
well, we couldn't start until the ground is actually hardened enough to be able to dig. And then only the last couple of weeks that's even become feasible.
All right, are you done, Bill?
Here's the good news.
All right, we're gonna move
Contract
on.
community is very, very busy.
Motion 07-08-1902 to accept the May primary financial reports, which is Exhibit C1. If everybody would like to look at C1, could I get a motion, please,
So moved.
and a second?
I'll second
Thanks. So if everybody would like to take a look at that, and then please ask Bill any questions you have about what's there.
Perhaps in concert and with, you know, for the benefit of new membership. So what, you know, what we're presenting here is the balance sheet, the income statement, some activity reports, a little bit of a statement of the operational cash flows. I'm always interested in, you know, seeing where the cash position moves and how that aligns with income. We do operate here, although it says accrual basis up in the upper left-hand corner, it's really a modified cash accrual basis, because there are certain amortization and depreciation numbers that do not run through the income statement. And primarily, those two are depreciation of the physical assets here, mostly because those assets come about in the form of grant money that goes, you know, into retained, not into retained earnings, but really goes into reserves, and then depreciation ends up being booked within our audited financial statements against, you know, as against income, and therefore the non-operational loss flows through to retained earnings. So when we get to the audited financial statements, they will always look different from our internal financial statements, which do not have the depreciation running through them within the operating side. Well, I think we have added it on the non-operating side. And then more importantly, there are some post-retirement benefit accruals that then also flow directly through equity or reserves or capital. What do you want to?
Is this a third
Good.
party audit?
We have a third-party independent audit conducted by Bowers, which I will report on in the audit committee report, because our fiscal year end is March 31st, and they delivered to the audit committee a couple of weeks ago their audit results. So, you know, I just want you to know that this generally represents the operations of the organization. It takes a little while to figure out what the revenue streams are and the expense streams. A lot of the expenses on the personnel side, much of called personal here, I'm not sure why, are variable. So they vary with the revenue. Some of them are, you just have some absolute fixed costs. So you're always going to be volume dependent on your revenue side, although if you do things at net margin, then all the volume in the world doesn't make up for that. So you want a positive margin on your operating activities. Those revenue sources come in the form of warehousing, stevedoring, give me your other categories.
Rent,
Rent,
leases.
leases, the operating marina, there's, we rent property up on Vinegar Hill, where the customs, where U.S. Border Patrol exists, right?
Lehigh, spray,
Kind of spray,
US Fish and Wildlife.
So, but most of the revenue comes from the core operations of operating the port. There are some ports of authority that third party out the operation of the port, and therefore they're just overseeing the operation of the third party. This particular port also manages the operation directly. A fairly limited number of individuals.
Right now, a lot more limited than we normally do.
Yeah. So, you know, this time of year, you're gonna be a little bit slower on the revenue as you go through the summer. When Bill referred to the tariffs, there was a period in time in which aluminum that would have come directly to us was being unloaded in Canada and brought in through truck rather than shipped over because of the renegotiation of the components of NAFTA into two different treaty arrangements or trade arrangements with Canada and Mexico. That's my knowledge. And right now, that impediment is removed, and when Bill talks about, you know, going for a free trade zone, it is to eliminate the potential of tariffs interfering with the operating stream again, because the free trade zone is there to stimulate activity outside of those additional fees.
Thanks.
It's more of a generally speaking. But oversight of the financials, something that, you know, as you look through it and have questions.
Just one question.
Yeah.
On the fixed assets, I don't notice the LT5 on there, but we do own it.
That is an,
Questionable, it's an asset.
Hmm?
Questionable, it's an asset.
I'm sure the
Yeah.
Smithsonian would be happy to have it.
yeah. That is an excellent observation.
It was in the Normandy administration, invasion, I mean, it's valuable to somebody.
Yeah.
It's never been declared an asset report
Okay,
since its inception,
all right.
so, I mean.
It's one of the displacements is that the assets of the Marine Museum are not showing as assets of the port. Although the Marine Museum was formed by the port. There was a period in time in which it sort of governed itself and became an independent operating entity, operating within a lease that expired on property that expanded beyond its lease, which, you know, has just led to some discourse within clarification of what they can do, what they can't do, what they should talk to us about, what they shouldn't talk to us about. It's my thought that we should have some involvement directly in governance, just to avoid those confusions in the future, and to make sure that the legal documents that are supposed to be in place are in place. And perhaps, he's correct, you have a series of assets out there that are unrecognized on the balance sheet. They're all the artifacts. Assuming that you have to own the artifacts.
We have an inventory and value that's insured.
And you probably have a debit and credit that needs to be recorded, and credit will be positive to your income statement or your net assets.
We'd have to do that next year as well.
Or just the Marine Museum, have a balance sheet.
some reason it does have a balance sheet, and that's where the assets are reported.
Okay, so that's where it might be.
Any other questions about C1?
Actually, that's a good question to ask the auditors.
You know, I've been here for a long time. It takes the economist from Princeton to teach me a little bit about accounting.
Right.
Well, yeah, the economist too.
All right, are we all set with C1, or does
I'm
anyone
sorry,
have questions?
I meant Yale.
What?
I meant Yale.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're moving on to motion 07081903, which is Exhibit C2, the May subsidiary financial reports. Could I have a motion, please? And if everybody would like to take a look at C2 and ask any questions.
Yeah. Terminology-wise, impressed fund is all the bills being paid. AP and AR are pretty self-explanatory. We do a nice job now of footnoting the accounts receivable to make sure that aged items are discussed or understood a little more fully prior to collecting, which Ken now has.
I have one observation. I'd like to bring it up for the edification of the two new members. On page W2, Port of Oswego Press Fund, the Jefferson Solutions Incorporated, the Gatsby 75 valuation report. I wondered if Bill could just explain the GASB 75 for the two new board members.
Yeah,
W2.
Yeah, the page is being cut off a little bit, but I'm happy to talk about the accounting standard that governs the actuarial valuation of your other than other post-employee benefits, which is called OPEB in there. Other post-employee benefits mean other than retirement benefits. Those are future liabilities that you have to provide post-retirement health care. FASB 45 sits along the old FASB 106, which says that any future stream of payment that you have as an obligation in the future needs to be recorded on your balance sheet as a liability at a net present value of discounted cash flow. A non-funded liability then is going to be a function of simply the discount rate being used and the amount of people that you have out there and the payments that they're receiving. So it's a discounted cash flow analysis, but using actuarial valuations in terms of how long you have to pay them, because you no longer have to pay them after someone passes, right? You pay more as they get older. And the discount rate is a function of interest rates, which is interesting because it went up significantly with interest rates going up, which was the reverse of what it should be. And as I recall from the audit committee, the response was the value of the underlying assets, but other post-employee benefits do not have funded assets, so I have no idea why I said that. Listen to that answer where it's from.
So what would affect those contributions in the future?
Retirees.
Okay.
And this.
I thought that might be valuable.
It's the total number of retirees that you're funding these healthcare benefits. The private sector has moved away from funding post-employee benefits because of the accounting pronouncement a long time ago. The public sector still generally provides a lot of post-employee benefits because mostly they don't carry the liability on their balance sheet. They don't show the taxpayer that liability because everybody would freak out if they knew what the what the negative, let's call it the structural deficit of each municipality for every year.
Ken, which item were you talking about in particular? Was it the pension fund thing?
It is simply the expense paid was passed through the accountants to the actuarial firm that conducts
Mhm.
this.
Right, which line item are we
So
talking
the
about?
footnote, I couldn't, he was giving me pages.
It was
I couldn't
W two,
follow.
it was the Jefferson,
It's the very last thing on the page.
Excel health plan?
And then,
It's the fifth
W2.
page, it's the
The amount is
fifth page in.
2,200 and the.
2,200, we do it to assess our liabilities in the future.
Jefferson Solution, oh, there we go,
and
yeah.
then the 75 valuation report, that valuation ends up being
We need
footnote
it
to the
prior to
financial
the audit.
statements.
And we are audited yearly.
And we adjusted only at audit time off of the valuation, which frankly, even the private sector does on their post-retirement benefits.
Question out of sequence here. Do we leave our pages here,
That's
No, you
totally
take
up
a
to you.
please?
Just, I usually leave one.
That's up to
You
you,
should
Connie.
have,
It's up to you.
you should have received the package in an email.
I
and
did.
then- Okay.
Yeah.
But you can take the packet, the only thing I ask is that you leave the
Folders.
folders and the index,
It actually wasn't.
The
wasn't
tab.
that much, but,
tabbed index.
yeah.
If you look at this, it's a fairly significant liability.
I had one more
For a small
question.
amount of people that are covered.
Mhm.
The total
They
SRAC
generally go
total,
up
it looks
like
like it's coming down.
Mhm.
Something else.
Yeah, it is, they're paying, but
And
that's a
then
good question,
the
because
expense then is captured.
part of the, well, ASROC is
Well,
going
wait,
down.
So you're looking backwards, so you see that expense actually be there.
Annual OPEB.
Yeah. So, you know, that amount isn't really that large, and she just,
So the interest rate's going up, the discount rate should have gone up, liability should be down.
My last observation was the accounts receivable on Lehigh Hanson SRAC. We've had some difficulty in our relationship getting paid, and it's taken some negotiation on Bill's part. And I was hoping maybe he could just explain what's going on with that.
Well, we've come to about a 90% agreement, everything, Fran is on that negotiating team with me, we've come to 90% agreement on the lease. The only item left is what we're now pursuing with the dock repair. As I said a couple meetings ago, we received a transfer grant we received a number of years ago for over $638,000 for a dock repair that's necessary for the operations of that portion of the west dock. It was originally, a number of years ago, under Jonathan Daniels, executive director, there was an agreement between Sprague, that time SROC, now Lehigh, in the port, they would pick up portions of that repair along with the port providing funding. I reached out to Sprague, it's now in their corporate office of what they wish to do. As soon as we get the reply, we go into final negotiations with Lehigh and we'll finish that one off. But they have been very active lately, and we have, quite frankly, I think, still a good relationship with them. We want them to be a continued lease fee on our property. Just to let you know, for the new members, we own the building, we just don't own the towers. It's their towers, we own the building and the property. So as soon as Sprague gives us an answer, we can then finish the negotiations we have.
That's all.
Are there any other questions regarding Exhibit C2? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're going to move on to the chairperson's report, which as usual is pretty short. The LT Tug, they had at the museum a little ceremony on D-Day, and I went over, I spoke briefly about what I felt was important about what the tug signifies. And to me, as a military mom, it's the sacrifice of both at that time, the men that fought that day and the families that were also providing sacrifice. To me, that's what the significance of the tug is. And that's what I spoke about. It was a very nice ceremony. It wasn't drawn out. It was perfect, I thought. And it was very nice. So, the committees, our committees. We have 2 new members, so I will be reconfiguring our committees. Please email me if you have any preference on committees, if you like where you are, if you don't like where you are. If you're a chair and you don't want to be, just let me know, because I'll be doing that between now and our next meeting.
When do the committees meet, or is that very?
The committees meet on an as-needed basis.
Not enough, except, I think the planning and development committee meetings, committee has been meeting fairly frequently as friends injected a lot of spirit into its activity.
And also, the committees meet a lot more now than they ever did before. We have a committee structure. I feel that we should use it. And because I feel that the board members need to be involved and informed about what's going on, I think it works a lot better that way.
And committees work a lot better when a board is full.
That's right.
Much closer to full, but when you're barely making up a quorum for a meeting, you're
Yeah,
not making up a quorum for an audit.
that's right.
And I'm not gonna make a comment.
Seems like a comment.
I have a note here, now I can't remember what I wrote that for.
Oh,
Meeting times. Bill is interested to know if anyone else would be willing to meet earlier in the day. It's something we don't have to decide tonight, but if
Committees?
This meeting.
Oh.
At one time, the board met much earlier in the day. I mean, I just brought this out because, you know, there's variable times you can meet. You know, right now you meet when the board's closed. Maybe having it a little earlier, I would have more staff available. You'd see more of the operations. Just a thought I threw out there. You know, I mean, tell Amy what you think, but.
Yeah, you can email me if you'd rather do it that
Sure.
way. If you have any comment tonight, that's fine too. It doesn't matter to me. It's up to the board. So if earlier in the day works better for everyone, that's fine. If it doesn't, we won't change. And that's it, because I can't remember what else I was going to talk about. But we'll move on to committee reports, and there is no report from the executive committee, audit and finance.
The audit committee did meet with our external public accounting firm, Bowers & Company. They came in to conduct their annual full scope audit as of March 31st of 2019, fiscal year ended. It was a very good, clean audit, a clean opinion on the financial statements. They do opine to management's financial statements as being accurate representation of the condition and operations of the Board of Oswego Authority. They do not opine to internal controls, though they do some limited testing for those. Connie and Longito. I'm very comfortable with the accounting systems, the skill sets utilized. On internal controls, you're always going to have lack of segregation of duties when you have small staff, and so that's always going to exist. I think where, if I was going to where we need to perhaps get a little bit strengthened now that we have more membership is the governance committee has been very active recently, but one of the things that we never got back to after leadership change was looking at are we fulfilling all of our requirements on policy that the board needs to oversee, purchasing policies, spending policies, investment policies. So you know, that I think that there are policies that need to be established at the board level, that need to come back to the board on an annual basis for approvals and revisions. Again, that just takes more staff time. I think that really leads us to the discussion on representation. And perhaps as part of an engagement of legal representation is that kind of review of, do we have all of the policies that we should have in place as an authority? And do we have posted all of the things that we should have posted in the proper places? You know, requirements on whistleblowers, on hostile workplace and harassment and various forms. There are certain things that just under legal requirements we should probably look at a little stronger. That doesn't fall under audit, but I'm trying to just give everybody a sense of comfort of the governing body. The governing body's done a good job with limited resources. The executive director has been very under-resourced during the entire tenure. He's looking for number 2 administrative person. The job description yet, but Bill has essentially been acting as both the deputy court manager as well as the CEO. So I think these are some things that we can move forward to working on together in committee and full board structure, and we'll have more active brain power looking outside for those of us that are in the forest.
Right.
Can't see the trees anymore. So, you know, those are some things I'd love to draw some attention to, and I think that we have an opportunity to have an external engagement of legal research that helps with that. Right now, we don't have as much, perhaps, expense as we did before on the services.
Governance committee, John?
The governance committee will be meeting sometime in July out here during the daytime to examine or re-examine the handbook. I do think, I've read through it all. I think that should be our obligation, and to see what changes might be made, what might be updated, and so on and so forth.
Employee handbook?
And yes, and if there is time at that meeting, there may not, we may need a second meeting. I just have a personal concern that at our last meeting or the meeting before that, I'm not sure which, that Bill Scriber would be very comfortable temporarily having Mike Stanley be kind of an adjunct legal authority to the board until we decide on a more permanent legal staff to the board. And I just think maybe that should be talked about. I don't have any objection to that.
Are you
John,
saying
I
we don't
think that
have
was
legal
for
representation?
Bill,
Bill,
legal counsel for the director.
Okay.
We are
okay.
still,
in addition.
we still have no legal counsel appointed. And that is what Tom was just talking about.
Yes,
That is,
okay,
So, yeah, so when Bill has a contract,
yes,
and he needs somebody to take a look at it, and it's not, you know, it's not one of the largest contracts with one of his largest, you know, engagements, and, you know, we're just looking at the reps and warranties section, we want to make sure that, you know, it's fair. Mike is Stanley is a phenomenal resource, local resource.
yes.
I think when we start talking about the legal representation of the board, there are two things that we have to better understand. One is right now, we did not reappoint legal counsel, pending a review of what we believe our obligations are. We had legal counsel attending every board meeting, legal counsel acting kind of as a board member. And I don't know that, you know, that is required or not required. So I think we have to look back to our enabling legislation. We have to look at what, you know, best practices are, but there is an engagement, you know, that we probably want to enter into. that the board has in quorum by vote access to. As for individual board members to act independently, but for the board to act as a body. And then also provide access to that same representation to the executive director and his staff. I think because of the nature of the business, that it probably requires an engagement with a little bit of a firm, a little bit of larger scale, that can then resource it to some of their divisions. Because when we had legal counsel as representation to the board and sort of a appointment on friendly basis, that person ended up always, having to job out secondarily more complex issues because they're general practitioners. Most of the stuff that you're doing is real estate home closings, divorce settlements. You're not in a great place to negotiate with Purdue when they claim $1 million loss of underweight beans, which that legal representation ended up coming through Barclay Damon out of Manhattan, working 2 floors below the people who were suing us. and it was convenient, and Purdue, to its major credit, had a client self-report after their internal audit that it was their scales that were off, and they fully cleared us of any liability to them. And then our insurance company paid for that legal representation, which the lawyer themselves pursued.
Just as a point of reference, I did use Mike Stanley for one contract. That was a Dean Marine contract. He did it in 2 days, and I signed it. So it was, I'm not using the council a lot, but when I have a small contract like that,
Sure.
I have to have a legal, I don't want to
Yes, I
sign.
know.
So, yeah,
And there are many,
that's the
many
only
good-
time I've used it.
Did he offer a pro bono?
No.
There are many, many good local attorneys. You're not going to find one with greater representation than Mr. Stanley.
Does that clear that up for you, John? We
Yeah.
will be.
Okay, well, no, my only concern is boards that I've served on before, you always know you are indemnified and held harmless, but it's always nice to have legal counsel formally assigned to the board.
Yes, and we will.
It just makes me feel more comfortable.
Okay, and we
Point
will.
of
We will.
clarification, you are covered by directors and officers insurance.
Yes, I know.
You are not held harmless.
What?
Your fiduciary responsibility is a liability that can be held against you at any point in time. The D&O coverage may or may not cover it based upon the circumstances, but it certainly doesn't hold you harmless. It's just, I want everybody who serves on board to know that fiduciary responsibility of duty of care and loyalty sits there and is inviolate because all insurance in the world isn't going to cover you if you were wrong. It does cover you when you're wrongfully accused.
You act in good faith. You have to
So
act in
don't-
good faith.
Mess up, John.
Oh, I won't, no.
He's as straight as arrow here.
No.
You're not arguing against it, are you?
No.
Okay, planning and development,
I
Jerry.
don't currently have anything, but a friend or can ask something. I'm sure.
Do you have anything for me?
Just we talked about, planning going to our site meeting over there on the Global Back area. And all that is in the works.
Did you have something about
You're gonna have a meeting.
Yeah. So it's
Are you available for a
another
meeting?
day.
I wasn't last week right now.
I'm sorry. I didn't
Old
mean to
business.
insult you.
I have no old business. New business, we have some motions. Motion
I have
07.
a question,
Okay.
just parliamentary. Do you accept the committee reports by motion or just,
No.
no, okay.
Is 07-08-1904. Motion to authorize Executive Director to apply on behalf of the Port of Oswego Authority for the 2019 Build Grant. Could I have a motion
So moved.
and a second? Bill, do you have anything to say about it?
No, we're putting together an application now, but it's tentative on the governor's announcement. We have the money on phase one to use as a match, so we may be going all the way down to the deadline and not applying. But I need this in place in order to make the
Do we
application.
have a specific regarding this build grant, or is it
Yes.
what it covers?
Yes, it's, I presume.
So I mean, there won't be any question in the governor's
Absolutely
office?
not. It's phase one, phase two of the full build out we discussed.
At the board?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Connie does think, you're still voting, right? Did you vote on that motion?
We have not voted on this motion yet.
Go ahead, no,
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, any opposed? Motion carries.
Connie makes a good point. There are actions that may come out of committee. Two things. One is, these meetings are recorded for an open public session, so right now we are being filmed and recorded. I don't know if the sound quality is, I've never watched it. I can hear or see myself. I need to stand on my back. But, so if you're reporting out on the committee, there are oftentimes when boards accept committee reports or don't, if there are actions coming out of the committee, they should be accepted.
Yes.
If there are any actions by a committee that's reporting in executive session, those end up being motioned in open session. But that being said, we really should accept the audit report, except I don't have it in people's hands to do so. So I would ask that we have the audit report provided in its final state to everyone and then put on the agenda again for acceptance.
Okay.
So the audit committee did accept the report,
Okay.
although we technically did so without a quorum, so we should bring it back for the full board acceptance.
Okay.
But I can't ask people to vote on something that's not in front of them.
Thank you, Tom.
Or 60-page report that's just put in front of them. But I can assure you that it's a fine art. Oh, and two, there were no management letter comments out of it. And management letter comments come out of an audit when they feel that procedurally it would be helpful for the board to know that there are some things that management is doing that they could be doing better for the integrity of the financial statements. And the normal course of audits have some management letter comments. There are also less formal comments that occurred. There were no formal management letter comments issued as a result of this audit, which is a credit to the staff. So thank you, for getting some stuff.
Clean on.
Clean audit is good. Clean opinion, clean audit.
Motion 07-08-1905, a motion to authorize the Executive Director to apply on behalf of the Port of Oswego Authority for the 2019 USDOT MARAD grant. Could I have a motion?
I'll make that.
And a second? Bill, would you like to explain that?
That's a pot of money that just came available recently, within the last few weeks. If you ask me what we're gonna apply for, I can't tell you right now. We may apply for a crane. We may apply for a reach stacker. We're eligible, and I really have to go more into the mofo of the announcement. We have a lot of needs here. And I just received an email from them today. I'm just gonna have to review that. I'm gonna have a conference call with them and see what our most pressing needs are. And then I will hopefully make an application.
What does MARAD stand
It's
for?
MURAD.
What?
It's MURAD, Maritime Administration
Okay, enough.
I thought it was some secret weapons center in the mountains of Colorado.
DOT has separate departments, this one is their water.
It means we don't have to do it by hand anymore.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, I'm
Get a
pretty sure in
machine.
the movie War Games, it represented a secret military installation.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's see, motion 07-08-1906, motion to authorize the executive director to make application on behalf of the Port of Oswego Authority for the Lake Ontario Resiliency and Economic Development Initiative. May I have a motion?
So moved.
In a second. Bill, anything to say? You're pretty
Well, honestly, you'll know what I'm applying for because this will be in the board in August. The application should be due, we believe, at the end of August. So as I briefly told you, docks, putting back broken walls, and maybe some other things we need because of high water.
Just a general rehab.
Yeah, but I'll bring the specifics either by email or whatever to you, but I need you allowing me to do that. If the deadline gets shortened, then I have no idea what the deadline's gonna be. They haven't even given it to us yet.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Maybe we could get together with the Planning and Development Committee and
We'll try to work on it.
work on something along the lines of doing everything and making sure we dot all our i's and cross all our t's. Is that appropriate?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, motion 07-08-1907. Motion to approve the amended resolution recognizing CSEA Local 1000, AFSCME, AFL-CIO as the exclusive bargaining representative for certain employees of the Port of Oswego Authority. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Fran and Ken.
Second.
Fran and Ken.
Yeah, back here.
Bill, do you have anything to say
No,
about
this,
this?
this is just as per the board's direction on the members they
Yes.
wish to include and not include, and this was drafted by the attorney that originally did
Yes.
this, and this should
And
end
we've
it.
all seen this,
Yeah.
and yes.
Are the folks that are not included, not union members?
So, yes,
Yes.
there was no
Yes.
union covering the employees of the staff. There are non-management members now that will be a member or be seen by this union. They are also civil employees, and therefore they also have direct oversight from the personnel office of the city, although I can't say that I've ever understood exactly how that works. But Nancy-
Because the city, I think because the city used to be in control of the port, and that's how it led to that. Any other questions?
On that motion?
Yes.
No.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Before we make a motion to enter into executive session, I'd like to ask one question.
Okay, we're not quite there yet. I
Okay.
want to make a motion regarding the tug.
Okay.
And let me, I'm looking for that.
Yeah, the resolution was in section 2. I would move the resolution with the amendment of reducing the time period covered to 2 years, just to allow us to revisit the topic sooner and when some of the items discussed have been more fully vetted.
Okay, motion 07-08-1908 to authorize chairperson, whatever, to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the H. White Maritime Museum as amended, with the agreement to be in effect for 2 years. Now a motion. Any questions?
I
Any-
actually moved it, so you're looking for
It's
a second.
All in favor? Okay, Ken, you had.
I was, I just looked at last month's meeting notes. I see that motion 0603-1906, a motion was made to authorize the executive director to write an application on behalf of the port for a foreign trade zone. I just wanted to make sure if we didn't, we did tonight. And we did do it last month. So,
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
just for clarification.
All right. Motion -07-08-19 to enter executive session for purposes of discussing the ILA contract negotiations
And CSEA.
and CSEA.
So moved?
Second?
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're entering executive session.
Yeah, you just try to take it,
Motion 07-08-1910 to resume regular session. May I have a motion?
Make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now we need motion 07-08-1911 to adjourn. Motion?
So moved.
There you go.
Come on, Connie,
First
moved.
Second.
All right. You guys have motions tonight, huh?
Any opposed, we're adjourned.